Great, you can hear us. Okay. Hi guys, so I'm hoping this is a very exciting topic for all of you. All of us are here because we want to figure out, are we doing the right thing? Do I know enough? And the good and bad news is you can never know enough, right? At any point in time, everyone in your org will feel like, I don't know enough about AI. So hopefully, as Dennis and I share our point of views from our various experiences with banks, you guys will also come back later with a lot of interesting questions for us. Because I think that's what's going to make this summit really productive for everyone, right? We don't just want to sit and listen. Let's try to bring out those creative energies. Okay? So let's start. And I think Dennis earlier, Mila from Tonic mentioned a lot about CX. But I wanted to hear about you from Union. Like, how do you believe hyper-personalization has changed how our customers are expecting things from banks?
Yeah, thank you, Esel. So I think there are four things that I would say has changed a lot in terms of the customer expectation. And I think that's mostly because a lot of the retail customers are used to, Facebook, Netflix, TikTok, and all the social media apps, right? So I think number one is from a broad segmentation to really target it to the customer. So normally we say at Union Bank, from personas to person. So because previously when you do your data science and analytics, you kind of a day in the life of a browser, a day in the life of a professional, but that's still actually kind of broad segmentation. But now it's like a day in the life of an Alex Iveniano, for example. I say Alex, but I say Sir Alex. So talagang ganun ka targeted in terms of segmentation. And then I think in terms of content, so before it's static content, you open it up, you see the same thing. Now the expectation is it's real-time and dynamic. So like when you watch Netflix, parang that's the reason there's like profile at the person level, and when you log in using this, you see a different content, and it's also not static, it keeps changing. I think that's happening, so I think the banks, the financial institutions should think about that kind of experience. Because it's no longer static, it's now more real-time and dynamic. From a messaging standpoint, from the usual generic messaging to now really context-aware type of messaging, I would say. And then from previously it's transaction focused. We look at their transactions, did their InstaPay went through and stuff, but now it's more experience focus and relationship focus. I think that's what's changing. And as an example of that, we're looking at things like, for example, we figured out that, let's say Mike Gibson is there also. We figured out that he's a person who likes to travel a lot. Normally, your data science analytics will just tell you, maybe launch him, do that. But what you can do sometimes is, if that's what's his interest, maybe you can recommend some things. And then it enriches his experience, because if he or she would be like, I used to go here, I like this, but they recommended something and it opened my eyes, it's the same interest. So I think that's how the changing expectations from the customers are evolving. But if I may ask you, Esel, it's AI, which is our topic today. Sometimes I say AI is already coming out of my nose and my ears, because I don't think there's a day that passes without talking about AI. But and it's noisy. It's like all of them wants to talk to you that they have an AI solution. And I think it will continue to increase. But how do you make sense? How do you distinguish between what's hype and what's actionable in your experience?
So I think there is a lot of noise. I think that's the key word. I just want to go back to the first question on personalization, because that's very much related to noise. There's two sides of the coin, the companies and the customers, right? So we are employees of a company, and our goal is how do we make the company sustainable. And for decades, everyone will say data is in oil. Basically, now that everyone knows that already. And the goal of the company is how do you increase penetration, etc. So I bring it up and I say noise because what you were mentioning about contextual offers is customers don't actually want a lot and frequent nudges. So it's actually harder for our teams because we gotta find out when to hit them and exactly what product. Otherwise, it's just they'll decide to unsubscribe, right? Or they'll decide that okay, this bank doesn't really know me. And going back to the noise, I'm pretty sure you guys have been invited to so many conferences this year, and all of them had AI in the title, or like all the products that have been offered by our technology vendors have the word AI. I saw one of the ads earlier, and they were saying, let's start with a business problem, right? The business value is two sides of the coin. AI is hype. Sometimes it's tiring to keep on hearing about it, but for me, AI will just be like the internet in the future. It's just basic hygiene. So everyone really needs to participate in it. It's just that we are at the point where people are still figuring out where best to place it. So figuring out of all the use cases, and I have our data scientists here, which ones are the best problems to solve. So cutting through the noise, the hardest thing is really where should we start, I think. I know we spoke about the different models that our teams do. I think there's a debate between going deep or going wide. I want to hear your thoughts about that. Like, given that AI is hype, how do we now lead our teams so that we can actually add value in terms of that?
Yeah, so it's a problem I have at Union Bank because so many vendors, partners try to go to business, etc. And then they'll go back and say, when can we have AI for this, AI for that? But we're not new to it, and it has come to a point where people will ask, where's the value of those investments? So maybe I'll share maybe 3 things about figuring out where to spend time in. So one is have a prioritization framework. Okay, so the usual, what is the cost to do it, what's the complexity, which is timeline, and then if you can put bubbles, is it huge benefit, small benefit. So the low cost, low complexity, high benefit can go as quick wins. So you have a framework of saying, these ones I'll prioritize because it's huge benefit and low cost, low complexity. But the other is to be able to come up with a platform. Because if you get there, the demand management becomes a little bit tight. Because you have to compete that the resources should be here instead of there. But if you have a platform where the cost to operate it is really low, you can fire up a lot of use cases. You're not fixated about do I deliver the value or not. You just keep testing it because you don't lose too much. So you can test quickly and cost efficiency is like really low. The third is also look into research. Okay, so for example, I was looking at AI, because a lot will test, and there are some that will mature faster from hype cycle to the flow of disillusionment to the path to enlightenment. So initially they said value in AI, where most value is derived is in IT, marketing, customer engagement. But now it may change. So look at that because that helps us an input. Where do I focus? Where do I get the business value? We also have an inventory of our models. And sometimes I ask, which models are not producing value? And then I see it and then I ask the team. It's not sometimes an issue of not being able to produce a model, but to understand that sometimes it's the culture. They have the capability, but they still resort to doing it the same way they do, and so it doesn't produce value. So we have to have that conversation. And then the last thing is, you may want to try this to my data science analytics team. I tell them, and I ask the board and the mango, if we deliver a value, can I get 10-15% of the value to fund my next activity. So the tendency is my modelers will think about, if I want 10 to 15% of the value I'll derive, I'll get the ones with the big value. Right? So it's a kind different way of kind of encouraging our users or our developers to really focus and prioritize those with the big value. So I think we're more deep for now rather than too many and you're not producing value.
I'm gonna try that with other companies. So I think in our company, in Security Bank, I'm very grateful because there's a lot of excitement from the leadership to use AI. I think very similar to Union, right? So at least there's support to do that R&D, try it out, test it out. But the balance that we want to play is, also for the scientists, they actually like it when they see the impact of what they do, right? So what I've learned as we went along is, before you even execute, the business really has to be.
Yeah.
It depends on how your company is set up. If you have a lot of data, for example, in one side, let's say risk, and you have a lot of talent in that area, and the process can easily be fixed or automated, then that's a good place to go deep.
Yeah.
But if you're not sure, like if you have a central team and there's multiple areas of the bank where they don't know yet, then I guess going wide is a lot better.
Yeah, on our side actually, if I see that the business sponsorship is weak, kasi don't waste time. We won't be able to produce value, but we also make sure that we expose our leaders. Because sometimes I look at all the initiatives, and then I look at it, to me, I feel like these are the initiatives I want to grow our business X%, but really looking into it, it's like, I don't think they have reimagined what their business would be like in the future with AI and stuff. So we have to immerse our executive leaders also. And having said that, I think so we're working on using AI for customer centricity, right? And you want to be super personalized. And sometimes in that case, you need data. But in your case, in your bank, how do you balance that? I need to hyper-personalize, but at the same time, I keep the data privacy and the trust of the customer protected also, and not eroding the trust, but building more trust with the customer.
I think especially for banks, like trust is our main thing, right? So once the customers don't feel safe, then we safeguard their data. It's the same with money. So overall, compared to other industries, probably we are more conservative when it comes to customer data. So here comes the importance of data governance. Even before the whole surge of AI, it's been important that we only give access to the right people, or that PII is masked, or that the customer actually consented for us to use the data. So I think now it's getting a bit more complicated because obviously we want more variables, more information to make better predictions. But I think always keeping the customer consent and maybe for the purpose, right? Like, there's good and bad AI. We could figure out, this person is like addicted to this product, right? So if you're just thinking about maximizing revenue, you would not care about what you're pushing, where you're pushing. That's sort of taking advantage of a customer's weakness. So the intent really is the most important thing, and I think ultimately, since there are a lot of people interfacing in AI, we mentioned earlier, this is not just the technical folks. This is bank-wide, right? People need to participate in it. So I think really coming up with standards and governance. So for us, we started with our AI governance framework, and I think most banks are also starting to realize that this is something that we need to set up.
I like it that you've put in intent. Because I think when you want to hyper-personalize, maybe the question is, why do you want to hyper-personalize? Why do you want data? Is it to earn? I mean, nothing wrong with that. We're all in that business. But or is it more really to add value, be relevant to your customer experience? I like that, how you put that.
And then as we talk about all these, so that the bad side of AI, I know there was a talk this morning about ethical AI. I guess I want to hear also about like what foundations you guys are preparing. We're sort of building the car as we move along, and at the same time, there's heavy risk, right? Meaning, this is a highly regulated industry, and also there are a lot of bad actors. So, from Union Bank's perspective, what do you think are the most important things you gotta get in place before driving fast?
Yeah, maybe take a bit of time here. So, building the foundation, I think, is key. So, I had to talk to our board and the manco to tell them that please don't get too excited, too fixated about coming up with too many AI use cases. If we do it without the foundations, we will have a big problem. Okay? So I need to tell them that we need to work at this first. No? And sometimes that's hard because I really tell them straight, you need to be patient. Because what I can do is, it's like I can build you the 30th, 31st, 32nd floor. But I build it with chicken wires and duct tapes, and without a strong foundation, it just collapses. No? Or you can be patient, we'll build a strong foundation, and then we can keep building floors after floor after floor. I think you need to have that conversation. Otherwise, you'll have a problem because you'll be pressured to come up with this, with that. But the data that you're producing is not even sound. You don't have a customer information platform. You don't have an MDM. You don't have a data catalog. And you don't build data products, you still build it, the old way. So we had to talk, and then we had to put up all those strategic initiatives as a foundation. But the way we look at it is we run it as a program. So I have someone that looks at people and culture, for example. So we put up the governance, the policies, etc. But we also put up a platform, for example, as a foundation. So what's happening is, somebody will talk to you, I have an AI for collections, sorry to the partners now. I have an AI for collection, I have an AI for financial advisory, I have an AI for IT development, please go to their booth later. I just learned about it today. So many AI, right? So if you're not careful, you end up with too many things, and you're not able to really look at the enterprise architecture. The layman's analogy that I use is, we need a toilet, okay? We need a bedroom, we need a sala, we need a kitchen. You just keep building without a plan. Then later on you wake up, and then you have a visitor who wants to go to the toilet. You just figured out they have to go through your bedroom before they can go to your toilet. And you have a problem because you already built it that way. Right? So it's important to really look at the foundations first. Build a solid data foundation, build your GenAI platform, which means it's not siloed. You can reuse the capabilities across, you can fire up all the agents you want and introduce the data that you need. So it's about running it as a program and really letting the board and your manco understand that you need to think long-term versus instant gratification by coming up with so many AI use cases today. I think that's, but having said that also, I think one foundation, and I'd like to pick your brains about this, is how do you ensure the ethics in what you do, or what would be some of the ethical principles that you put when you have your team come up with all sorts of models?
So I think that was a lot, and that's all important. I think foundations, just harking back to the concept of the home. For me, AI is like designing all the automations in your home, like your smart TV, smart fridge that reorders when you need it to order. But if your electrical plan isn't set up, right, it's just there. Your TV is not plugged in, it's not usable. And what you mentioned earlier about MDM, like, these are the not sexy parts of data, right? When people think data, they always talk about the models, they always talk about predictive, but no one really likes to talk about, hey, how's your data quality? Or if you're in the Philippines, actually the reality is, unless you're a fully digitized bank, we still have a lot of offline manual process, logbooks, and all of that. I bring that up because when you have AI, sometimes it becomes a black box. And it's so difficult to explain what went in, why was this the decision. So if everything in your house, in your design is really messed up, parang yung mga electrical poles natin, di ba? You don't even know which one's working or current, they just put it on top of one another. How do you explain to a customer why the loan was not approved? So, for me, apart from building the foundations, when you mentioned, like, what are the principles, explainability is extremely important. Similar to data privacy, like the consent, like do they even want to be part of this pool? Intent, and obviously like empathy is also important, right? Because a lot of times, in alignment with intent, it's always how do we save money? How do we automate a process? And AI is intended to be a lot more than that. So I think we had a lot more topics that we were discussing, but it's time for questions. Anyone can just raise their hands and we could talk more about this topic or anything specific that you wanted to raise with regards to what we were discussing in our experience, both security and bank.
And maybe what this.
Good morning, my name is Mar. I'm from GD Capital. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer. So we own Metrobank and Toyota, if you don't know yet. My question is, where are you on your data governance, data management journey? And can you share some of the challenges that you're having? Maybe cite some real-life examples so we can learn from you.
Thank you, sir. So I was about to share that part of the foundation. I just said people and culture, but it has to be an inclusive foundational build. So we're actually retraining our risk people, information security, audit, because they need to understand when I do AI and Gen AI, how do I become effective at doing that? If I'm an auditor, what do I audit? How do I audit it? Right? If I'm a risk person, so we include them in very specific trainings so that they can become better at what they do. I think that's important. And then we collaborate with them. We do things like, for example, for information security, you need data to train models, etc. So we had to work and we wrote a white paper on it about the synthetic data. It's not the actual data, but it's sufficient to train the model and run it. We work with our InfoSec team to kind of do that. How do we get to that level? So I think that's going to be crucial also. But from a governance perspective, we also have our board. So we have a data governance management committee. We have a model risk validation committee. So there is a process by which we check the model before it goes to prod, and even when it's in prod to check if it's still effective. But I would suggest there is a process done by BSP in a thematic review where they check all of those things from policies to governance to the capability of the people, etc. I think it's a good framework that allows you to really prepare the organization more holistically.
From security backside, so I think the first place to start is really the organization. So similar, we have a data expo, and the segment heads of the various businesses are part of that conversation because business and data have to really be tied together. Although my team, I'm from the analytics team, is relatively large, the second largest would be your data governance team. So in terms of setting up policies across the bank, defining key KPIs, what does total relationship balance mean. I think those are, it might seem so simple, but teaching people what the different metrics mean and making sure the entire bank is talking the same way is also something that needs governance. The hardest part, I would say, is metadata, which is really labeling what the fields mean in business manner so we could use it. And also, it's untangling legacy. I think that, especially for large conglomerates, that will be harder because you will see multiple fields with the same name from different systems that mean completely different things. So I think that's an ongoing journey. I would say the most important thing is to have people there first because data governance is always a long-term foundational asset. It's not for ROI, the pressure will be on the data analytics teams. But without the data governance teams, and I think my team can attest to this, the difficulty with making models without really good DQ is you always have to redo your models, right? Meaning my scientists end up becoming engineers or even business analysts trying to find the data in the bank. So I would say relatively mature in Philippine context, but global context, we still have a way to go. Thank you. Any other questions? I think we're good. Maybe let's just end with something, a short message to remind or recap the session. From my end, for me, AI and data, it's really about people. Yes, there will be platforms and we need platforms. Yes, it's technology, but at the end of the day, I think the most important thing is the strategy, right? How will the bankers actually work with the data teams to activate the data? And that's not just leadership among our teams, but also total bank leadership is extremely important for that.
Yeah, so maybe what I can share is that when Union Bank embarked on the digital transformation journey, we said the digital channel is our battlefield because we're not increasing our branches or ATMs, so we put up a lot of capabilities there, etc. I told them what got us here won't take us there. The new battleground is AI, data and AI. And I really mean it when I say it's a battleground. From resources to building capabilities, etc. We need to understand that that's the new battleground and we will be left behind. So from before we say digitize or perish, now we say AI or die, but we kind of flipped it to AI to fly. So just to emphasize the importance of it, but at the end, so my role in the company is making sure, that we have a future. That's my role in the bank today, making sure that we continue to be, build a bank of enduring greatness, or now we call it the next gen bank. And what I realize is it's very difficult. We don't know what the future will be like. But what I realize, and my compass has always been, if you stay relevant to the lives of your customers, you're able to solve problems for them, you're able to add value for them, then you have a future. AI might not necessarily be like the end state, it's a means to be able to do that. So that's what I try to do. At the end of the day, are you relevant to the lives of your customers? You add value to them. Maybe AI definitely would help a lot, and that's where I think you can say you have a bright future ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.